Welcome to Poulton in Cheshire, which 850 years ago was owned by the Cistercian monks. Then it would have been a hive of industrial and agricultural activity dominated by its nerve centre, Poulton Abbey. The Abbey's been lost for centuries, but 11 years ago, a local archaeology group set off on a quest to find it. So far, they've uncovered a chapel, hundreds of skeletons, a Neolithic henge, and a mass of artefacts from the Mesolithic right through to the Roman. But no Abbey. That is, until now. 11 years on, and in the middle of 9,000 years of activity, they've discovered these earthworks, and they're convinced that this is the Abbey. Are they right? We've got just 3 days to find out. The village of Poulton lies 5 miles south of Chester on the English border, separated from Wales by the River Dee. For the past 11 years, a local archaeology group, the Poulton Research Project, have been excavating a chapel here. They haven't got a precise date for the building yet, but they do know it's too small to be an abbey church. And although they've been investigating the surrounding fields, they've found no evidence of the Abbey on this site. But Mick, whose passion is anything monastic, is relishing the search. This is better for you than England winning the World Cup,
Oh,
isn't
absolutely, yes, by a long way.
A Cistercian Abbey.
Yeah, a lost Cistercian Abbey as well, that's fantastic.
Yeah, how long did it last?
Well, it was only about 60 years it was here, so and that's both a problem in the sense it'll be very difficult to find it because it may have been timber built, it may not show up very well. But it's also a hell of a bonus because if we do find it, it'll be like a time capsule. All the structures and finds will be of that brief period, and that's very important.
We know that the Abbey isn't in the vicinity of the chapel, and our best clue to its location lies in this field, 700 metres away, next to the River Dee. Mike Emery from the Poulton Research Project believes that the earthworks in this field are the remains of the Abbey.
We're fortunate enough to have a 1650s map, roughly 1650.
He's also found a map of the Poulton estate from the 17th century, and it clearly shows a stately home in the middle of this field next to the river. Mike thinks that this building was converted from the original Abbey.
Based on this map, 8 years ago we put in 2 small trenches, and one of those trenches actually produced a very fine winding staircase, sandstone staircase, descending into the ground.
But why did you dig here?
Because of this claustral arrangement of buildings, basically, which has this sort of, to us, appeared like an abbey.
Does that work for you, Mike?
Well, it does, because very often later buildings on the site will reflect the layout of the early monastery. You know, if you've got a cloister in the middle, and a church on one side and ranges of buildings on the other 3 sides, that can be reused and end up as a square like that.
Jonathan, is that indigestion, or are you just...
Well, I can kind of see this sort of cloistral plan, but at the same time, I mean, a courtyard plan would be an absolute classic for a great medieval house. I mean, I do know that we get a lot of monasteries in the 16th century being converted into houses, so yes, it's possible.
Yeah. OK, if this is the Abbey, how are we going to prove it?
Well, I think we could do a survey of the earthworks, because they might actually reflect what's going on underneath. We could reopen your trench and have a look at the stonework in that. And then I think we'd do some geophysics right across it and see if we can see the plan of the layout in the ground.
To kick off our Abbey quest, we're opening our first trench on the site of Mike's previous excavations. While digging gets underway in the potential Abbey field, We're also investigating the chapel site, because at the moment we don't know why the chapel's here or how it relates to the Abbey. But Helen's already on the case. Why are you digging here?
Well, because we can already see where the structure is, clearly. The thing that we haven't got is any absolute dating. So there's no pottery, there's no finds that have been found to tell us when the first structure on the site was put here. And that's important because we want to know how it ties into the date of the Abbey.
But getting a date for the chapel is going to be difficult, because the building's gone through several modifications over the centuries. Luckily, Alan Wilmshurst, a member of the Poulton Research Project, has been digging it for years and knows its layout like the back of his hand.
The very first phase of the chapel is actually from here, this wall here, which is on the west side, comes right along here and actually finishes on that corner there. You'll also notice beyond there, there's the chancel has been added at a later date.
I see. And what's this great chunk over here at the west end?
This at the west end has been added at a later stage. Whether it's at the same time as the chancel, we don't know. It's a tower.
Thanks to Alan, we can reconstruct the ground plan of the chapel. And they're going to concentrate our search on its earliest phase, the nave. So Bridge is digging a section across its wall here to see if she can find some evidence for when the chapel was first built. In the Abbey field, Matt is trying to locate the staircase.
Hi there. It still looks quite backfilly there, doesn't it?
You've got at least 9, possibly 10 courses of brickwork to go down yet.
Mike took these photos of the staircase during his previous dig, and he thinks it may be part of the Abbey. We've got to prove it, but at least we know we've got something concrete to uncover. Well, at least something medieval sandstone.
A little bit more out from
Take out a bit of that back
this
fill
side.
there.
This side.
Yeah. So the staircase
Cool.
could well be coming down there somewhere.
And we'll need all the help we can get, because the Abbey only lasted on this site for 60 years. Its short lifespan means that we could find a rare example of an early Abbey, unaltered by later building phases.
brickwork.
There we go.
There we go.
But it could also mean that there aren't any substantial foundations to find at all.
There it is.
There we go.
We have the deed that set the monastery up.
So we've brought in historian Alan Thacker to help us out.
And what seems to have happened was that the Earl of Chester, Ranulph III, appropriated the monastery at Poulton and used it to endow his new establishment near Leek.
So, in layman's terms, the Earl of Chester, who lived near Poulton, lured the monks away from the Abbey here to his estate at Leek in Staffordshire. He hoped that by sponsoring a new abbey called Dewlacress on his estate there, he would guarantee his own passport to heaven. At the Abbey field, Matt's a step closer to finding the staircase and, fingers crossed, getting our first glimpse of the Abbey. Yeah, Matt, there's certainly not an absence of archaeology in this trench.
No, the trench is full, isn't it? We've got stuff from, as far as I can see, lots of periods here. We've got these quite modern-looking brick walls in the middle there. Over in the corner, there's some sandstone, and then there's this line of sandstone going along here as well.
What about the staircase?
Well, the staircase, we've been trying to orientate ourselves, and I think it's something to do with this sandstone line here, so it could be right underneath your feet.
How's it looking for you, Jonathan?
Well, I mean, it's looking very interesting. I mean, we've got this apparently early staircase running through here, but this is not necessarily the only thing I'd like to see.
What do you mean?
Well, there was a trench put in somewhere over there about 8 years ago, which showed this, which appears to be an early doorway. So that's the rebate of the door, and then the door would have shut and swung against it.
So what's going on here?
Ah, well, that's interesting. I think that's actually an earlier wall, and this doorway's being punched through it. So that's potentially the earliest thing we've had on the site so far. Now, that trench was somewhere over there. So what I'd like to do is sort of reinvestigate this wall, and maybe it'll tell us all sorts of things.
So you think there could be hints of something Abbey-ish on this side?
Well, certainly an early building, yes.
So we're opening a second trench to investigate the early wall shown in the photo. But that's only part of our monastic manoeuvres. We're also going to survey the earthworks in this field to see if they're part of the Abbey.
You're carrying all the stuff. I'll come with you.
Instead of using high-tech gadgetry and global satellite positioning, Mick and Stuart have decided that sometimes the old ways are best and are using low-tech pen and paper and an apparatus invented by the Romans.
I'm just going to go out and stick a pole in the tree.
Stuart, I'm absolutely amazed by this.
As usual, Phil is fascinated by anything archaic.
The real value is you're building a plan up as you go along, and that's what's the beauty is you're actually looking at the earthworks while you're drawing them.
That is 15.9.
That's there. It's as simple as that. Go on then, Phil, you might as well do this one. It's useful to have a Mick, isn't it?
Can you get out the way? I'm trying to do a bit of serious surveying here, you know. Right there, then.
Yeah.
Down in the chapel field, Bridge is struggling. Her progress for finding dating evidence for the chapel is being hampered by the hundreds of skeletons buried on this site. These need meticulous excavation, but then again, perhaps they can help us out with a date.
Alan, have you got any dating evidence at all for the burials?
It's a bit tricky, that, because the grave fill, we found medieval pottery, but also Roman pottery, so there's quite a mixture, so it's very, very difficult to date exactly.
I know you've had some analysis done of the bones. Have you found anything that tells us who these people were and what their lifestyle was like?
Yeah, well, most of the adults we found, their bones show a lot of wear and tear, so it looks as though they're mainly labourers, and quite stocky build on a lot of them, so we think that most of them are sort of labourers from the local parishes.
Right.
At the Abbey field, Mick and Stuart, with a little help from Phil, have finished their survey, which has produced an accurate plan of the earthworks. Up here, we've got three grumpy old men who've been extolling the virtues of technology invented by the Romans. There's nothing like a wooden tripod and a big flat thing, is there?
It works, Tony, it works.
What is it you've been doing?
Well, we've been surveying the earthworks here, look, but it doesn't look like the sort of plan we'd expect from an abbey at all. There's nothing like a big hollow cloister or a big mound with a church. There's nothing that shouts out, this is the layout of an abbey on this site.
I mean, we've looked at many earthwork sites, haven't we, over the years between us, Mick, probably hundreds of them. And the earthworks here look more typical of those you'd find with a large house and gardens and orchards and paddocks around it. And that's very much what this sort of rectilinear plan here is indicating. For instance, this very large depression here is a pond. This is a decorative pond at the edge of the garden round the house, for instance. That's what this is on here. So everything says house and gardens, but there's just a few background features in this area here which might predate it, and that might suggest there's something here before the house.
So how are we going to find out about this abbey?
Well, I think we have to go back to the historic maps which have got Poulton Hall on. And, you know, we've got noisy earthworks sort of in this area here, which is somewhere beyond where the digger is, down there. We put a trench in there, just see what we get.
So a trench goes in over the earthworks. In the other two trenches next to it, the archaeology is looking more promising by the minute. The staircase made of medieval stones beginning to emerge. And we've uncovered a massive medieval wall that must have been part of a huge building. But although the archaeology is looking positive, Mick and Stuart just aren't convinced that we've found the Abbey. Mick, you can't spend 3 days going, oh, this is a tricky job, oh no, the Abbey's not here. What are we going to do? Fire me up with some enthusiasm for what we might do.
The problem is with the Abbey field, as we call this over there, is that it doesn't feel right, it doesn't look right
No.
topographically for the setting for a Cistercian monastery. Main ingredient really for establishing site of an abbey is a water management system.
Yeah.
Because when the Cistercians build a monastery, they need flowing water through streams to divert into the claustral buildings, to flush the lavatories, provide water for the kitchens, etc., etc.
They're great water engineers, basically.
So if we can identify places where those stream patterns are, then we can really narrow down where the abbey might be.
So you're going to don your metaphorical habits tomorrow and go off on a prowl?
Well, we might go in the helicopter, I don't know.
Over in the Abbey field, we've had a bit of a setback. First of all, the earthwork trench has revealed no trace of the Abbey, but only 19th century brickwork, so we've decided to close it down. And in the staircase trench, we've got lovely steps made of medieval stone, but not necessarily a medieval stone staircase. Mick, fantastic. Look, we've got the staircase.
It's really good, isn't it?
Yeah.
But there is a problem with it.
Which is?
There's a brick under it.
Where's that?
Down there, look, in that corner.
Oh, what, this thing down here?
Yeah.
What do you think that means?
Well, it probably means it either isn't medieval or it's been repaired at some stage. But come and look at this over here.
Well, this is the trench that Jonathan got us to put in, isn't it?
Yeah, and you see we've got this whacking great wall in the bottom of it. You know, that must be medieval.
So, is this it? Have we got the Abbey?
Well, I don't know whether we've got the Abbey. This may not be it, but we've got lots of other possibilities to look at. That valley over there, for example, has got all sorts of likely sites in it.
Isn't that in Wales?
Yeah, which is another country, yeah.
So, tomorrow, a first for Time Team. Looks like we could be digging in 2 countries at once. Well, I think that's exciting.
If you'd like to see more episodes like this, you can make it happen.
Our new target is to reach 15,000 worldwide supporters on Patreon by the end of 2025. This will enable us to continue expanding the Time Team world. Enjoy front row seats for the greatest show on Earth and under it.
Beginning of day 2 here at Poulton in Cheshire, where we're looking for evidence of the lost Abbey. And yesterday, in a field way over there, after a not very promising start, we came upon some really chunky medieval masonry, so that's looking quite promising. And this site here, the chapel site, we've got lots of skeletons, loads of masonry. But Mick, I don't understand how this site here can relate to that one over there. There's 700 metres between the two.
Yeah, but I think what you have to remember is it's almost certainly on the same block of land belonging to the Cistercians. So even though it's a long way away, this bound to be connected.
Connected in what way?
Well, there are 2 possibilities for this, because we've got a chapel here with a lot of burials, and they're of men, women and children, which you wouldn't normally expect to get on a monastic cemetery. And it's quite likely, actually, that it relates to the settlement that was here before the Abbey was founded.
So these would be Anglo-Saxon people?
It could easily go way back to the late Saxon period, yeah. The Cistercians acquire a very nasty reputation very quickly for getting rid of peasants, you know, chucking people off the land to create the isolation that they want. So this might be related to that.
All right, and what's the other possibility?
Well, the other possibility is that they don't allow lay people into the Abbey church anyway. And so there's often a little church out on the edge by the gatehouse that local people can use. And it's called the Capella ad Portam, the chapel by the gate. And that might be what this is. Either way, it's still connected to the Abbey, even if it is a long way away. And of course, we're assuming that the other site is the Abbey. We don't really know that.
And he doesn't even think that that is the Abbey over there, do you?
No, it's the wrong sort of site. Whereas if you look down this way, see where that land drops down there?
That's Wales.
Well, yeah, but there's a stream down there that's a much more likely site where you can use all the water resources. So I think Stuart and I are going to be fosking down there today so we can find it.
Do you speak Welsh?
Just a little bit. Pobly coom. Not bad.
Despite Mick's scepticism, over in the Abbey field, we're still hopeful that we may find, well, an Abbey.
Oh, there it goes. Well, I tell you what, if that was in situ, that'd never move like that, would it? No.
We know the staircase isn't part of the Abbey, but we found a mass of medieval stone walls that might be. Phil, you've dug deeper in this little section of the trench. Why is that?
Well, you know the trench with the big wall in it, the big stone wall?
That one over there,
That's the one over there. Now, what we needed to do was try and find out whether that wall continued on into this trench to see whether or not we were dealing with one massive building.
And is that it?
And that is it. But you see, the interesting thing...
Hang on, so that wall there is the same wall as this one.
That's right.
So that's a heck of a long building, isn't it?
Exactly. And at the moment, we don't know how long it is and we don't know how wide it is. But we are beginning to piece this thing together. Look, this brick wall is actually sitting on top of the wall. So this wall must be later. And you can see again here, we've got this row of stones, and that stone is also sitting on the wall. So that one must be later. So we've got at least 3 phases, of which that wall is the earliest.
It might be the earliest, but is it part of the Abbey? The wall's certainly showing up on John's geophys running through both trenches. And that's not the only wall on his plan.
We've got some really good results now. You can see all the black, the high resistance, showing this building complex. And here we think we've got a parallel wall to the one in the trench. So we're going to extend this trench as Matt started to do.
Yeah.
And that looks like the parallel wall coming in here. So we can start to get the dimensions of the buildings.
Yeah.
And also a return. And that will be just under the grass here. And so that could be the gable end of whatever this building is.
By extending the trenches to uncover more of the walls, we hope to get a clearer plan of the building to see if we've got the Abbey or not. In the chapel field, Helen and Bridge are still struggling to find an exact date for the chapel so that they can understand its relationship with the Abbey.
Hi, Bridget. Hello.
And at last they may have had a breakthrough.
I think we might have got something that may date the stones and the structure that we're looking at here.
Right.
This morning, we've got this bit of pot that's actually inside the construction cut associated with the building of the chancel.
Great.
But can you please tell me a date?
May I pull it out?
I think in this instance, yes, it would be a good idea.
OK, let's have a look. I'm not even sure it's a piece of pottery. It looks like more like a piece of tile. So, oh yeah, look at the back of it. That doesn't look like a potsherd, does it?
Looks a bit more
like a tile, so it could be a roof tile. There's no problem with it being medieval, but what you've got to find is something incredibly distinct.
Luckily, Helen might just have that distinctive evidence.
What is that? It's a bit of stone.
Oh no! I'm really trying hard to learn pottery, but I've got a long way to go, haven't I?
So frustratingly, still no date for the chapel. In the Abbey field, more of the walls have been exposed, and Jonathan finally thinks he can identify what kind of building we're looking at. Jonathan, all I can see is a tumble of stones and a jumble of walls. What is it?
Right, we started this trench trying to target what we think is this very early wall running through here.
Yeah.
And it's telling us an awful lot more, because we've got pad stones. Do you see the positions of those pad stones?
No, show me.
I'll get in there. We've got a pad stone here, and the other one just there. So they would have taken the timber posts for the superstructure.
And are they on the inside of the building or the outside?
This is the inside of the building. Now, the other wall that should go with this is somewhere over there, and we haven't found it yet. But we do have a bit of the floor surface. You just see this clay here on this little mortar bed. Again, it really gives one the idea that we're just looking at a very basic service or agricultural building, but on a very large scale.
So, disappointingly, it looks like this isn't the Abbey after all. But that doesn't mean it isn't part of the Abbey complex. We know from the documents that this was Abbey land and it had a farm on it. So this could be a monastic farm known as a Grange, which Mick finds just as exciting.
What I've tried to do is draw all the things that you might have. So the main thing is a hall for people to live in, and that could be quite high status, and it's going to have a big open room, you know, high up to the roof with smoke going out through them.
Your one appears to have a dormer window here.
Yeah, it's meant to be a louver to let the smoke out of the hall, but Jonathan didn't like it either. And then you're going to have at one side the service area, the pantry, the buttery, the kitchen where the food's prepared.
With vents again for the smoke.
Yeah, and then the other end will be the private rooms of whoever's in there. But then you'd also expect, because it's a monastic farm, to have barns, and stables and, you know, cattle houses and pigsties and you'll also have a, you know, bakery and a brewery to make the basic foodstuffs. And it'll look like a big house with a farmyard attached to it.
Middle of day 2, and instead of getting easier, this site is getting more and more complicated. We now face 2 challenges. Not only do we have to piece together the Grange on this site, but also answer the burning question, where's the Abbey? Now we're pretty sure that we have a Grange in this field. Mick and Stuart are widening their search for the Abbey and are looking for potential sites by a watercourse. One of the reasons why we thought the Abbey could have been on this site in the first place. The Cistercian monks were fantastic water engineers and diverted streams and rivers to supply their monastic toilets and kitchens.
That river is too big for early Cistercians to start to control.
Yeah.
It's too wide and too big a body of water. Right. I mean, even to get a channel off, you'd have to sort of have a very elaborate set of sluice gates at a high level.
Right.
I don't know of an example of where they've done that. It's too big, you know.
You'd need a weir as well, presumably.
Absolutely, a weir or a dam or something,
yeah.
You know.
So really we need to forget the Abbey being close to the river.
I don't think it's going to be just off the river. It's going to be up a side channel somewhere.
So they head upriver in search of a manageable stream.
See where the stream comes down and takes that right-angle kick as if it's been engineered?
Yeah, yeah.
Now that's the sort of place you might expect a monastery to be.
Well, expect here as it looks as if it's going off around the field on that side, look.
It does, doesn't it? It's immediately below where the chapel site
is. Well, that's ideal again. If that was a Capella ad Portam or the early village site or whatever,
yes,
that'd be
it would,
ideal.
wouldn't it? The sort of number of ingredients all come together just on this area.
So, to see if their theory holds water, they head over to take a look at the stream and its right-angle bend.
The pond down in there, Mick.
Yeah. See if we can get down under the tree up here.
Yeah.
Suddenly plummets down into a drain.
Oh, look at
this. That's right good, isn't it?
It is.
Looks like some sort of sluice gate or something.
It does. It could be a modern replacement for a much older system.
Modern replacement, I think, yeah.
In the Abbey field, which has turned out to be the Grange field, a remarkable finds come to light in the wall trench.
Good God. My first impression, without being able to examine it closely, looks like a stirrup.
So we're in a stable then, possibly?
Well, it's going to lift, so...
Do you want to have a look on the other side?
I'll just lift it really, really carefully. I've never seen one come out entire before.
Oh, right.
Oh, that's brilliant.
In its full glory, it may have looked like this, with a footstrap made of leather. This trench has also produced further confirmation that these foundations are part of a Grange. We've got this one diagnostic piece of stone. What do you reckon that is?
Oh, that could have come from, well, anything from a farm building upwards. I mean, this piece of stone seems to be associated with this wall over here, and the evidence from that suggests we're actually looking at a building that's timber framed.
Hang on, if it's timber framed, why have we got a stone?
We think it's actually a half timber building, so the bottom part is stone and the upper part is actually timber. And in fact, from the trench, we've got the wattle and daub here that would have infilled the panels on that timber frame part of the structure. Date-wise, I suppose, 14th century or a little later, I would have thought.
And have you got anything of that kind of date?
Well, the best piece is this. It's a medieval floor tile, 13th to 14th century.
And do you think that this tile and this piece of stone are from the same building?
No, I don't think so. I mean, yeah, it's a very fancy tile and it's come from quite a posh building.
Well, where's the building that this goes with then?
If only we knew, if only we knew.
If we could find it, the luxury farmhouse might be laid with a beautifully tiled floor like this. While the picture of the Grange is shaping up nicely, the archaeology in the chapel field still hasn't given us any dates. But can the documents help?
Well, it so happens that I've got here a document which I've discovered this morning. It's a document of the mid-13th century that explains that at their Grange, the monks are setting up an oratory.
And that's a little kind of chapel thing?
Yes. He says that our order has received permission from the Holy See, that's the Pope, that in our granges we can celebrate the divine mysteries, but that should be without prejudice to the mother church, that's to say the parish church in whose parish they're sited. I think that the chapel that you've been looking at in Chapel Fields is the mother church of Poulton.
That means that it's standing in the mid-13th century. Does it give us any idea of how old its origins would have been?
Well, parishes on the whole weren't being formed in the 13th century, and it would imply that at the latest it was 12th century, and it could well be considerably earlier than that.
So this means that the chapel could predate the Abbey. The site's still refusing to reveal any dating evidence, so we're leaving it to the Poulton Research Project to carry on their meticulous excavation. We've learnt enough to believe that the chapel was built before the 12th century and was a parish church serving the community of farm labourers and their families. And the site was also used as the local cemetery. Later, when the Abbey was built, the Cistercian monks evicted the community from the land, and the chapel then became a capella ad portum, or chapel at the gates, on the boundary of the monastic estate, where the lay community were allowed to worship without disturbing the monks. In the Grange field, Phil's dug more holes in the staircase trench.
Mick?
Yeah?
Why you ain't doing anything?
Yeah, cheeky devil.
Come and have a look at the fruits of digging a hole.
Come on down, Mike, and have a look. See what the master's got to say.
You can see the fruits of digging 3 holes. I've dug that one behind you over there.
Yeah.
And then there's this one here where the fines tray is.
Right.
And now I'm in the 3rd one.
Right.
And I'm beginning to get some idea of consistency across the site in these 3 holes. And the thing that is consistent is that we consistently get this big, rich layer of burning. Look at all the charcoal and stuff in there like that. And every time you get it, it's overlain by this nice, clean clay.
Right.
Now, we know the building is multi-phase. I wonder whether one of those phases was really major and that either the whole thing was razed to the ground or maybe it caught fire. And this is the results of its demolition. And then when they rebuild it, they actually put in a lot of clay to make up the ground for the rebuild.
Yeah, that looks likely, doesn't it?
Do you like that?
Yeah, that's very good. If this was a timber frame building on stone foundations, which Jonathan was suggested, that this is the timber frame building that's caught fire.
Well, just goes to show what you can do if you dig a hole, mate.
I think we should do more of it, don't you?
But for today, Phil's run out of time to dig any more. Right, Bridge. We came here to answer the question, is the Abbey on the Abbey site? And if it's not, then what is there? And I think we're some way towards answering that.
I think we're well on the way with that.
We know it's not the Abbey, right?
Yep.
And we're pretty sure it's a Grange.
It's certainly looking like it.
But what about the posh high status part of that site? Is there the chance that we can put another trench in to see if we can find that?
If we can come up with a good target, then we will go for it.
Now, you two have been keen to see if you can find where the Abbey is, right?
Yeah.
Is there one particular site down there that you think is a really good bet?
Well, there's one area that sort of stands out. We can see the stream's been diverted on 2 sides, and that's usually where you might find some evidence of monastic activity.
In the remaining time, we ought to certainly do some geophysics if we can. We might even dig a hole.
It would be great, wouldn't it, if we could find that Abbey?
It would be fantastic, because we don't know what they look like at all from other sites.
Well,
it'd be a real first.
We won't know till tomorrow.
Right.
Cheers.
Join a thriving worldwide community of Time Team fans on Patreon.
Our new target is to reach 15,000 worldwide supporters on Patreon by the end of 2025. This will enable us to continue expanding the Time Team world with more digs and greater access than ever before.
Beginning of day 3 here at Poulton in Cheshire, and our big news is that the Abbey field over there is no longer the Abbey field, it's the Grange field, because that's what we found there. So where is the Abbey? Well, Mick and Stuart think that this field over here is a pretty likely candidate, although why they should think that when there's virtually no evidence at all in this entirely featureless field, I have no idea. What is there?
A clue really is in the streams, isn't it?
It is. The Cistercian monks are looking for a water source they can manage to provide water for their infirmary, kitchens, all that kind of thing.
Flushing the loos out.
Yeah. So they need a flowing stream usually, and we've got that here. You can see on this aerial picture here, we're stood on this track here and we're looking up this valley up here. The actual management of the stream, which comes down here, starts way up here. There's a channel comes through this field up here into this wooded area where there's a series of fish ponds.
Oh, you've definitely seen those?
Yeah, the fish ponds are there, and that's a typical monastic feature. Then the stream comes down. Now, you see that very distinct right-angle change there?
Yeah.
Streams don't do that, do they? They wander about.
So that's man-made?
Yeah, I mean, you can see, so in there is the sort of place you might expect an abbey to be located,
It's
isn't it?
extraordinary for me, because I could go through that field 1,000 times and think that nothing had ever happened there other than agriculture.
You haven't been on the right course yet.
That's what it is.
The obvious thing is to do some geophysics and see if there's any buildings buried here, and then, you know, see what we find.
So the team start geophysics the new field to test our Abbey hunch. The new Abbey field lies just below the chapel site and half a mile away from our Grange field. In the Grange field, as well as excavating some medieval walls, just to complicate matters, we've also discovered a rather strange Victorian cellar. It's quite extraordinary, these two trenches, isn't it? You've got this thing here, which looks like an early Victorian squash court, and then butted right up against it, you've got something which is medieval. Have you managed to work out some kind of timeline for all this stuff?
Well, we can't give you a timeline in terms of actual physical dates. We can't do that. But what we can do is give you what we'd call a relative chronology.
So you can tell us what went before what?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Now, step this way. Our first phase is up here.
Yeah.
And that is our major wall, which comes right through the trench, and you can see it's actually turning away to the left.
Oh, we've got the turn there.
We've got a turn there, which goes over there. Phase 2 is this wall here, which is actually butted up against it. So those are our two really medieval phases. Step this way. Here's our medieval wall running right the way through the trench.
Yeah.
And then we've got a return of it going that way, which is where the girls are.
Yeah.
So far, we're still in the medieval. In the 19th century, they make a big change to the thing, and in goes the cellar. That's where the bricks are. They reuse probably some medieval steps, and we've got another wall there, which is later, and at some stage, this becomes a courtyard.
Lovely piece of deconstruction. I'm in awe at the quality of the archaeology, but does it tell us anything at all about what was happening here in the medieval period?
I think it does, actually, particularly if we look at this 17th century map. There we go. Let's get back the right way round. So that's our huddle of buildings in here, and we are actually stood within this courtyard.
So we've uncovered these two ranges, which appear to be the Grange's agricultural buildings. We also know that the Grange complex would have had a high-status farmhouse, which might have been this range. So we're putting in a trench over here to find out, thinking that a high-status residence would overlook the earthworks, which we've identified as ornamental gardens. While the search for the posh residence gets underway, Stuart's busy studying the aerial photographs to see if he can determine the boundaries of the monastic estate from the features in the landscape. And an hour ago, Alan Thacker, who's been wading through volumes of archaic Latin, found an important piece of evidence.
There's a reference that reads as if it's a reference to the prior of Poulton. This is a new discovery, I think, and it implies that the Abbey of Dulacres maintained a monastic presence, probably on the original site of the Abbey of Poulton, under a prior from the date of foundation in the 1140s through at least the 1250s or 60s, over 100 years.
Now, that's very interesting, because one of my problems with this is I've been thinking, well, if they weren't here that long, if the monks weren't here that long and then they were moved to Dulacres, it's possible that the buildings are only of timber, and therefore our chances of finding them in the archaeology is going to be very difficult. If you're saying to me that they, in some shape or form, it carried on, into the 13th century, then the chances are they would have rebuilt in stone perhaps by then, which will make it easy for us to find it.
Yes, I think that's right.
That's very encouraging, that is.
And over in the new Abbey field, John's geophys results have come through.
Not quite an abbey yet.
I was going to say, I can't see stone walls and things on there.
But it's pretty encouraging. I mean, these are really good pit-like anomalies.
What, like storage pits or post holes or rubbish pits or something like that?
Rubbish pits or something.
My other worry, I suppose, is that, you know, this probably got alluvium on the top of it, hasn't it? With the streams, there must be flooding, mustn't
Yeah,
there?
and it has flooded quite a lot in recent years, and when you walk around you see bits of brick and tile and all sorts of stuff on the surface, so I would guess there's going to be at least a metre of alluvium here before you get to archaeological levels.
I think we could do with knowing that, actually, because you're not going to be able to see through a metre of silt, are you?
Only big stuff.
Right. Let's do that and find out if we're dealing with that.
Unfortunately, testing the alluvium is going to be difficult because the mechanical diggers are tied up on the Grange site. So John tries to persuade Helen and Kerry to get their hands dirty.
How much alluvium?
Between half a metre and a metre.
And it's 4:30.
4:30, and we've got one shovel and one mattock.
You've got one shovel,
yes.
You've got one mattock.
Sorry, OK.
It's all yours.
Bye.
Oh, he's so sympathetic, isn't he?
That's pathetic.
That's not what we expected.
That's not what we expected at all. What's going on there?
Helpful.
In the Grange field, the trench we opened to find the luxury farmhouse has revealed absolutely nothing.
Just had a thought, chaps. Are we actually looking at that building?
In there?
So, afternoon of day 3, and it's time to have a serious rethink about which range is the posh building. Having uncovered these walls, we thought the posh range was over here. But it now looks as though the building is orientated in the opposite direction, and the luxury farmhouse is actually over here. So Phil begins to dig another trench next to the staircase one, and within moments his efforts are rewarded.
That's a bit more like it.
Cool, these look a bit good, Phil. Where did these come up from?
Well, all around here in the trench, Tony. I mean, I was just literally working my way back. You look, gone through a lot of burning, which is sort of demolition, all that black stuff. But then, look, it's coming down onto clay with all these tiles, and they're all been smashed up. It's not a floor that's actually laid, but they've broken it up and used it as a foundation for another floor. But we've got all those gorgeous tiles.
What do you think these tell us?
Well, I mean, I think in terms of date, they're probably 14th or maybe even early 15th century, but they're really quite posh tiles. I mean, this one's particularly fancy. We've got a bit of a lion on there. It's been chopped off there, but that should be the lion's head, and we've got the rest of his body there. But this piece in the corner is very telling. This should be part of a bigger decorative scheme from a very posh floor. Now, I was saying it was over there somewhere.
The posh bit there,
The posh bit's over
yeah.
there. But it looks as though the posh bit's actually over on this part of the site.
It's the dying moments of day 3, and now the wall trench is adding to the torrent of tiles.
Oh, wow.
Cool.
Look at that.
Yeah. Back in the new field, the hole is only a metre deep, and there's no sign of the bottom of the alluvial layer.
I think we all go back and leave Helen to it.
Yeah.
It's not my turn anymore. John, it's your turn.
Pardon?
It's your turn to dig. Come back.
Good to see a woman work, isn't it?
Phil, look, we've got one from the other trench now.
It's a shame it's broken, isn't it?
Oh, yeah, and yours aren't, are they? Yeah.
They're not, though,
You're so competitive. What do you think this means? Surely it doesn't mean that there's a huge floor extending across the two trenches, does it?
No, I mean, they're redeposited from here somewhere, but none of them are in situ at the moment.
Unfortunately, we're not going to find either the floor or the building that these lovely tiles came from, because we've just run out of time. It's caused us a lot of problems, this site, hasn't it? Half the time we thought that the posh bit was up there, and then we thought it was down there, and then we thought the whole thing was facing in this direction, and then in the other direction. Can we say now what the Grange would have looked like on the ground?
I think so, actually, Tony. But perhaps if we do it on this plan, that's the best thing. You know the big wall that we've been banging on about for the past...
3 days?
For 3 days, admittedly, running through here. That's actually running through like this.
Yeah.
Then we've got some further walls running that way, and that way. So we've got this large block in there.
Yeah.
Then either side of it, we've got a further wing like that, and then probably another one over this side. And our posh building is probably actually closing off and forming that courtyard plan that we saw on the 17th century plan.
So where would the posh building have been on the ground?
That's behind us.
So actually we haven't dug it at all?
No, unfortunately not.
What about these earthworks, though? Because this was why we came here in the first place, wasn't it?
That's right. I mean, the earthworks have actually misled us quite badly because we assumed they were some sort of planned garden and therefore the posh bit would be overlooking that planned garden. But in fact, you're looking at them again. I mean, this big one here just appears to be a fish pond, so it's just providing fish for the main complex.
So the Grange would have looked something like this. There was a courtyard surrounded by half-timbered buildings. There would have been a gated entrance in the front range. The 2 side ranges were made up of agricultural and service areas with stables, butteries and kitchens. And the 4th range would have been the high-status living quarters. This central block was then surrounded by a series of farm buildings, barns, breweries, and it's even got a dovecot. Stuart's finally finished his study of the landscape and his search for the elusive Abbey and has drawn a map of the Abbey estate. The Abbey isn't in the yellow area because the Poulton Research Project have established that the building here is a chapel and they've investigated all the other possible sites here and found nothing. It's not in the orange area because the building here has turned out to be the Grange. So Stuart thinks that the most likely place is the pink area, where Helen's digging.
This is a Pulford Brook coming along here. Its old course went down there, that very wiggly course down there. And the modern Pulford Brook is this bit up here, and that's it there. That's actually a diversion of it. Exactly the sort of thing you expect to see with Cistercian waterworks. And it would imply that in this pink area in here, this is where the Abbey site ought to be.
So I think we've got to grips with the story of the Abbey. In 1147, the Cistercian monks were given an estate in Poulton by a local landowner so they could found an abbey. They built the abbey by the local stream, the Pulford Brook, which they diverted to supply the monastic complex with water. The monks evicted the local community and annexed the local parish church. This then became the chapel at the gates, on the boundary of their estate. The abbey only lasted 60 years until the monks were lured to a new abbey in Staffordshire by the Earl of Chester. And as we move on, perhaps Helen will find it underneath all that alluvium.
No, come back, come back. I've had enough now.
Join Time Team on Patreon to access exclusive 3D models, masterclasses and behind-the-scenes insights.